So, Tierra Ford, right? A nursing assistant or former nursing assistant, right? Of Ohio, right? She's facing various charges involving sexual abuse committed on elderly patients she cared for. 23 years old, raping and molesting elderly patients, right? I wonder if she was, molested as a child. The individual I just named, right? The former nursing assistant. I'm in question of that. Excuse me. Because to be 23 years old and raping and molesting elderly patients, right? You were 23 years old. Raping and molesting elderly patients, right? People with dementia and stuff like that, right? Alzheimer's and all the rest, right? When you're 23 years old and you're raping and molesting elderly patients, right? Molestation. That's how some people. I say that more so rape. I say molestation because that be an elderly patient, right? And you're old is to have more so of a childlike mind because many of the patients were nonverbal. That's why I said molestation, right? When it's really rape, right? Because to know that they were elderly patients and they are to have, more so of a childlike mind despite them being adults because, how they say, babies, then we grow old. And usually when we're babies, once we grow old and we're in like, you know, briefs and stuff like that, some people call diapers and stuff like that, right? We usually return back to our childlike behavior. That's why I said molestation in my opening, but it's really rape, right? She was raping patients, right? Tierra is accused of sexually abusing patients at her place of employment, which led to her being arrested at her home. Right, 23 years old. Right. Like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery Channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery Channel. The links are provided below. Get that Discovery Go app as well as an ID Go app. You might want to get those two things combined to make them into one, and I'm a Discovery influencer. That's indeed a fact. So, court records show Tierra was indicted on 2 counts of gross sexual imposition, right? And rape. So the location of where that occurred, the rape of the elderly patients, right? The inn at University Village is where she was employed during her indecency acts and or misconduct. That's where everything took place. The inn, right? At University Village. So victims of Tierra's, right, which involved her victims, right? Being raped by Tierra. Some of the victims in which I mentioned in the beginning, right? Dementia patients, right? They were nonverbal. That's where the child, like, because see that's is the fact is when I said molestation is really not molestation and more so rape, as I said like 3 or 4 times, right? Because to know that the patients were nonverbal, that's more like somewhat childlike behaviors, kind of where I saying that reminds me of infants. That's what it reminds me of. Elderly patients being raped, but they're nonverbal. It reminds me of babies. It just does. Because once somebody's fondling you or raping you and you can't speak or tell authorities or law enforcement, you can't tell, right? You can't really come out and say I've been raped as an elderly patient because you can't speak, you're nonverbal. The childlike behavior of elderly patients, dementia patients, and all the rest, right? Many of Tierra's rape victims, when they couldn't speak, right, they couldn't tell the other individuals in the facility. But what's odd about that is it was recorded. Tierra recorded it, right? She recorded videos of her raping the patients. So despite them, she probably would have never gotten caught if she wouldn't have recorded the videos of her raping the patients. Because to know that they're nonverbal is to once again know that once you have patients that's nonverbal, they wouldn't have been able to tell other people in the facility. She probably still would have been working there, right? The facility where Tierra was employed in rape victims, the facility cared for elderly patients, right, who suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's, right? As I said before, Tierra, she passed a background check. She has no history showing that she was into raping people, right? She passed a background check. But despite such, the passing of the background check, law enforcement senses there could be more victims. She raped various elderly patients in law enforcement since there could have been more victims, or there could be, right? Tiara's bond was set at $250,000 during her March 4, 2022 court appearance, right? And her next court date is on March 11th, 2022, right? That's in a few days. She'll be in court again, right? So the facility which employed Tiara offered a statement, right, stating they were cooperating with authorities involving the investigation, but couldn't comment any further on the investigation because of HIPAA laws, right? HIPAA laws. So the facility which employed Tiara also stated they contacted the families of the elderly victims, and I know the families had to have been upset. I'm sure they have been upset. Because to ever have your elderly mother or father or grandparents in a facility where they've been raped, right, by somebody employed there, I'm sure many of those families probably placed their I'm sure they have placed their family members in another facility, or probably how you find out that your father or mother was raped by somebody at a facility where you placed them. Some of them families, if they had money, probably moved their elderly parents or some of them elderly patients at home with themselves. Mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, right? If they was finding out that and it was taped as well, videotaped, that the lady was 23-year-old was fondling the patient. Some of them patients, their family, once again, probably moved those patients either home or placed them in another facility or something. Because to ever find out your grandparent was raped, or your grandmother, grandfather, or mother, father was being raped and fondled in facilities while it was videotaped, right? That's enough to make you move, your grandparents, mother, father into another facility. If not, move them home so they won't have, because people, common sense would think, well, if they were raped at that facility, I can move them to another facility. They could be raped again. Somebody like me will probably move them home with me. My grandmother, grandfather, mother, father. Yeah. So we're on investigationdiscovery.com. The ID logo stands in the far left corner. ID. Free ID episodes. I wonder if she's been molested. I asked that in the opening. If she had been raped or molested, more so molested. That's what I'm in question of, the 23-year-old that was fondling and raping the patients. Because as they say, habits repeat themselves and stuff like that. If somebody is in a facility fondling elderly patients, well, what happened in Tiara's childhood? Was any situation play out where, say, someone older than her, older grandparent or something like that, molest her grandmother, grandfather, anything like that, to make her want to, say, molest and rape elderly patients, right? You would question her behavior. What was her interest in raping elderly patients, right? Having sex with elderly patients at 23 years old. How was she raised growing up? Was it when she was young or a baby? Did anyone fondle her or do the same type of thing to make her grow up and then just rape elderly people? Because sometimes when people do things, right? It shows their habits, their past, and all the rest, or where they came from, and all the rest. So that's what I'm in question of. Dear viewers, may leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think and feel about the video. Not only that, what do you think could have been the issue on the end of Tiara to make her want to rape elderly patients? Is that a fetish or something? That's what I'm in question of. So may you enjoy your day. I'll in fact enjoy mine, and I'm going for now. 1.